Today, we're going to be talking to four individuals who are involved with the construction of the Kansas City International Airport, the new terminal there, but more importantly about some special programs that were involved for contractors and subcontractors in that program. Today, we're going to be talking to Geoff Stricker, the Senior Managing Director and SVP at Edgemoor Infrastructure and Real Estate, the developer of the KCI new terminal, Latoya Goree, Executive Director and Ombudsman for the what's called the Terminal Workforce Enhancement Programs, or TWEP. That's part of this whole thing at KCI. And she's also involved with the joint venture between Clarkson Construction as the design builder, Clarkson Construction as one of the members of the joint venture, and the Weitz company, another member of the Weitz Clarkson joint venture. Kelvin Caple is also with us. He's the Strategic Partnership Program. That's one of the key programs in the TWEP. And he's also involved with the Weitz Clarkson JV. And Daniel Felder, President of Axiom Construction, who was one of the participants in the Strategic Partnership Program, a very key element of the KCI Terminal Workforce Enhancement Programs. Geoff Stricker, give us a quick look at the airport itself. We don't want to spend too much time about the building itself, but just give us an idea of the dimension of this thing. It's a huge, 1.1 million square foot, 1.5 billion project. Tell us a little bit about it and the background on it.
Thanks for giving us the opportunity to speak today. So the new terminal project at Kansas City International Airport, as you said, $1.5 billion, 1.1 million square foot new terminal with 39 gates, 6,200 parking spaces, all appropriate airside and landside improvements to address the new terminal's needs. Mm-hmm. The project's really an outgrowth of the fact that the airport here today, the terminals were built in 1972. And as aviation and air travel has changed, the terminal hasn't been able to keep up with the demands of travelers from amenity, throughput, airline operations, et cetera.
Yeah.
It's the largest single infrastructure project in Kansas City's history. And one of the keys to the project was what we'll talk about here about having transformative impact in the community in terms of the programs that we implement, positive impact for minority, women-owned businesses, and for really creating the workforce of the future. So very excited about the TWEP program that we'll talk about and how that's impacting Kansas City.
Yeah, I was impressed when I received information about this program, about the comprehensive nature of this thing. We're going to be talking about the strategic partnership and the workforce training in more depth, but this thing is huge in terms of what you did in kind of human relations things, project internship program for college and high school students, a sub-bonding program, pay without delay, supplier support for minority and women business enterprises, an intentional procurement policy to make sure that smaller firms and specialty firms are involved, getting procurement, an incubator space for small businesses, a community liaison officer, a workforce retention coordinator, on-site healthcare for the workers, extended childcare. I mean, this is huge. This is a huge program, and just those elements alone are quite impressive, and almost all of them were heavily implemented. We're going to put up a slide showing the actual usage here, but let's get into strategic partnership and what it represents, and tell us about that, Kelvin and Geoff. Kelvin, could you tell us a little? You were involved heavily with that, please.
Absolutely. Again, thank you for the opportunity to
glad to have you.
Yes, appreciate it. Certainly appreciate it. Again, Kelvin Caple, I'm the MWB Program Manager for Clarkson Construction, and as one of the JV partners, we realized, one, we definitely wanted the program or the project to be transformative. And we've had the program in existence since 2006. It's a national program. To date, we've graduated over 1,200 students nationally throughout the program, and those graduates have actually, gone on to do some amazing things. I believe we've awarded over $1 billion $1 billion in contracts to participants that have graduated from the program. So we knew coming to Kansas City that that this program would definitely be transformative. Proud to say, I mean, it's an MBA style program. A little backdrop on it's an MBA style program. It covers, you know, construction fundamentals, you know, estimating, blueprint reading, business fundamentals. You know, we have awesome speakers come in and talk about financial statements and accounting. You know, skill sets that small subcontractors really need to take their businesses to the next level and really grow in both size, scope, and scale. And, you know, as Daniel Felder is an example of what the program embodies and what we really look to see our students do. I mean, not only did Daniel graduate from the program, but he was also successful at bidding work on the program. And, you know,
we're gonna talk to Daniel in a second. Thank you, Kelvin. I understand that for the KCI program, you had something like 102 graduates to that program alone, and $80 million in contracts went to 22 of the graduates of the KCI program alone. So that alone is pretty significant.
I would like to clarify one thing. We did have 102 graduates. We had 95 firms, 102 individuals, 95 unique firms, but 22 of those firms worked their butts off and they competed for those contracts.
Right.
So they, you know, just because you went through the program, it did not, you know, that didn't mean you walked away with a contract from graduating, but they were successful at bidding the work.
Right.
And being awarded the contract. Yeah.
So let's Daniel, tell us about Axiom Construction. Your business is primarily involved in concrete work, and your involvement with the Strategic Partnership Program.
Thank you, Rob, for this platform to continue to tell the story of what we, when we sum it up to one word, we describe it as a company who was intentional. We're intentional.
Good word.
About transformation. My official title, early on, you described it as president, but I do have a partner that I'm excited to be beside, and he is our president. I serve as the CEO of Axiom Construction Group. We are a general contractor, and we self-perform civil activities horizontally, specifically on down. So we're able to do footings, foundations, grade beams, slab on grades, and all surrounding elements pertaining to that. Obviously, the topic at hand is how the SVP program was a springboard.
Right.
And it's hard to tell that story, and I won't be long-winded. Some suggest that I missed my calling to be a preacher, so I'll calm down.
Okay.
But the reality is context. Context is important, and
go ahead.
I've got to thank Geoff and his team, Kelvin. They studied Kansas City. They understood the challenges historically that Kansas City has faced when it comes to representation from a diversity standpoint. It's not about the color of your skin. It's about the uniquenesses that exist amongst us all. And so for them to have understood the climate that existed here in Kansas City and how over the last few decades, because of some missteps, quite frankly, from our contracting community, we didn't see the transformative aspects from an MWBE perspective that we should have seen. So therefore, when this largest infrastructure project comes to Kansas City and have goals of 30 to 35% MWBE participation, you're scrambling to find firms that are capable, that has the viability, that has the bonding capacity.
Right. So the goal was 35% for MWBEs. And I understand, Geoff, if I've got it correct, that you eventually hit 59% of total project teams. You had 66 MBE firms and 58 WBE, women business enterprise firms, and a total of $307 million in subcontracts of the $950 million for some. I mean, these are big, these are great numbers. I mean, I think what you're saying, Daniel, intentional, great word.
Yes,
the goal was to exceed that 35% and beat all of these goals, and it looks like the team did it. So just tell us, Daniel, what it meant to you. You got a low interest loan.
Yes, sir.
Geoff is going to talk a little bit about that program for a second. And Latoya, we haven't forgotten you. Don't worry. We're going to get to you in a second. Don't worry.
Save the best for last, Rob. Save the best for last.
So
No,
tell us what it meant to your business with you and your.
Absolutely.
You know,
First and foremost, being able to engage in a master's level construction management program, right? Where, it was important to us to have the acumen already, right? We came to the table with something, and the SVP program then took us where we were at and helped us expound on the things that we knew, some things that we did not know, and we were able to evolve in our understanding of the construction dynamic. When you're working on a project that's $1.5 billion, there's a higher level of understanding that you got to have.
Right.
And so everything that Kelvin mentioned in terms of what the program had to offer, we were sponges. We were able to absorb and take our acumen to a whole nother level. And so that's where it started for us. And then it progressed into us responding to RFPs as a small minority firm to be able to interpret that contract, those contractual documents, those RFP documents.
Right.
That's a direct result of a intentional SPP program where they were bringing in professionals that helped us understand those things, right? So we responded, and then here you're always measured by your outcomes. We were successful. Yeah. So that right there let us know that the program is working, right? We then were able to parlay that into banking relationships. Obviously, to work on projects like this, it's about capacity. I share with folks all the time, a $3 million project can literally drown a small business, right? If you don't have the wraparound services, if you don't have the banking relationships, if you don't have the vendor relationships, if you don't have the bonding capacity, you will literally drown. So what the barrier that had been removed from Edgemoor was, let's partner with local banks. Let's partner with banks that understand the Kansas City environment. And
you got a $2 million low interest loan. Geoff, tell us a little bit about, briefly, if you will, about the whole low interest loan program that's part of this this TWEP. What a weird word, TWEP.
It is, but we like acronyms and the aviation industry, everything.
Yeah, real briefly on the low interest loans.
Sure. So, I love the word intentional because really, as you talked about, Rob, when we set these significant goals, 35% combined minority and women-owned business participation for both professional and construction services, what we then did was say, what services do we need to provide to these firms to help them be successful? And one of them that we instantly recognized was access to capital. Yeah. And so we set up a low interest loan program with a local community bank, whereby if firms have bid on and won work and have a contract, they go to the bank and they apply for credit, whether it's a line of credit or a loan, whatever banking products they need. The bank does their own independent credit evaluation, and then extends a loan to, in Daniel's case, obviously Axiom, but other firms. And then what we do is we cover a significant portion of the upfront fees. So ultimately, Daniel's financing costs are lower than if Axiom went to the bank on their own. And really, what we're doing is providing the power of our large firm and, in essence, lending that to the smaller firms to get better access to capital. Okay. So it's been incredibly successful for Daniel's firm and for the others that have participated in the program.
Right, and you got a huge
1%, Robert.
Ooh, 1%. I got to get one of those myself.
$3 million of loans of dollars made available at 1%.
Very great, Latoya. We haven't forgotten about you. Okay.
So you got conversation.
Isn't it interesting? And you were heavily involved in the workforce training program, which we're very interested in, because all we hear about from our readers and our audience is, oh my God, we can't get people. So tell us briefly about this was a 3-week program. You had many students involved in this, and 118 graduates, I think. Tell us about the workforce training program, please.
Sure. The workforce training program is a 3-week program that for the most part, it teaches soft skills. It allows individuals who might not otherwise have the opportunity to enter into a union trade, and it provides them access as a way to learn a skill that they could use for the rest of their lives.
Mhm.
Our program lasts 3 weeks. To date, we've had 118 individuals graduate from the program, mastering 16 different trades. Our training program focuses on soft skills. OSHA 10 certification is acquired the first 2 days of training. They also become acquainted with their trade union apprenticeship coordinators and training programs.
Mhm.
They receive their letters of intent by their sponsoring subcontractors who ultimately become their employers once they graduate. They also receive educational labor history, diversity and inclusion instruction, financial literacy, a full week of applied mathematics based on trades and what they should be expected to know when as a tradesperson.
Mhm.
Once they graduate, they also receive first aid certification and CPR.
Well,
So,
fantastic. My head is spinning thinking of what
Sure.
those 3 weeks must be like for them. Almost as bad as what Daniel went through.
It's a full day,
Yeah.
6:45 a.m. until 3:15 p.m. Monday through Friday. And they also receive a $400 per week stipend
Yeah.
that is covered by their sponsor.
What's the throughput to jobs, Latoya? Do you have any data on that? You had 118 grads, 16 different trades. These were sort of outside of the union area. This was where the unions either gave kind of approval, or they said, you went to trades that were not heavily unionized. What's the throughput on the 118 into jobs, either with KCI or with other work?
So that's the caveat and what makes this program very unique and special. It starts with our subcontractors who have contracts on this project. They all agree when they sign their contracts to sponsor pre-apprentices through this pre-apprenticeship program to perform work for them on the KCI Terminal.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So it's, again, that intentional word is very important here, isn't it? That, yeah, I understand. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Geoff.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's critical to point out that the men and women go through a 3-week training program. We have a graduation ceremony on a Friday afternoon. Monday morning, they're up here at the airport project working, right? It's immediate. They go straight from graduation to starting that Monday, working for the subcontractor that sponsored them. Once their scope of work or time on this project is complete, now they continue on and work on other projects in the city. And they've really, what we heard time and time again as we've interviewed folks for this program was, I'm tired of working a job, I want a career. And really what this program does is set men and women up for a career with good wages, good benefits, ability to take care of their family, and just have a long lasting impact in the community.
Daniel, did you have any of the interns? Go ahead,
Rob,
Latoya.
I would like to add something too.
Please.
That I did not have a chance to mention. This program starts with a citywide recruitment effort, and we're recruiting individuals with the expectation that if they are selected for this program, they will have a job. So it's not just a training program that does not deliver on employment. Once they're accepted into the program, they have guaranteed employment by the subcontractors that are sponsoring them for this project.
Fantastic.
Absolutely.
Daniel, did you have any of the interns?
We absolutely did. And we got to participate at all levels of that particular process, even going down to the interviewing. I was able to do it myself. We had over 60% of minority and women participation. And a great deal of those folks were folks that we dubbed as green folks that have never had an opportunity in the construction trade before. And we have now sponsored about 8 folks who are still working and pursuing their education through the union as a result of this program.
Yeah.
So I want to add something.
Go ahead, Latoya.
That's what Daniel just mentioned. So the program itself is soft skills. It prepares them to be ready for the workforce. And the actual training of the program, of their skill, does come directly from the trade union apprenticeship program. And so this program requires a lot of partnerships with the local unions to ensure that we are following their protocols as well. So we don't want to be seen as being in direct competition with our unions. They are our supporters.
Can I add to that?
Go ahead, Daniel.
Because that makes a great point. As a result, Axiom is now signatory to 5 unions. And so that's the collaborative effort with Edgemoor that on the subcontractor side, you know, in order for us to create that pipeline, the subcontractors equally have to have that opportunity to get engaged with the unions and ultimately provide that pipeline for them to get that additional training that they would need.
Kelvin, I understand that on the minority and women business enterprises, that's something like $307 million of the $950 million of subcontracts went to MWBEs. That's like 1/3 essentially, and 66 MBE minority business firms and 58 women firms. Tremendous numbers. I mean, you really way exceeded what anybody could expect.
You know, and I think you're going to hear this word come out of all of our mouths, and it's intentional. You know, in addition to the TWEP programs, I mean, from a procurement standpoint, we're also very intentional and deliberate in making sure that smaller subcontractors could take on work. We took larger packages and we split them up into the sizes where, you know, it was work that these subs could actually take on. Daniel just mentioned a few minutes ago, a $3 million contract could really drown a subcontractor if you're not prepared, if you don't have the bonding, if you don't have the capital to fund it starting up. So again, in addition to the TWEP programs, from a procurement standpoint, you know, we really looked at the packages, and every opportunity that we could find, we split those packages into smaller, more accessible and packages that smaller firms could work with. So,
yeah, that's very clever, very clever.
One more element to that.
Go ahead, Daniel.
Yes.
Edgemoor equally implemented and approved a mentor protege program. And I think that's worth highlighting, because for those packages that were in aggregate a little higher, starting to get above that 3 million, 4 million, which for us, we've ultimately been on $15 million worth of projects. It takes collaboration, it takes mentorship. So you can understand how to meet the critical elements of a construction dynamic, scheduling, coming in under budget. So we are currently under 2 mentor protege relationships with 2 local firms, J.E. Dunn and KCI Construction, where we get to equally, not just in the field, but in the office, understand how you manage a project from a project management, from an office manager, from all the way to a receptionist position. Yeah, we get to partner and understand how you actually exist on a project and make sure you're timely on your paperwork, your insurances, and all those different elements.
All right. Yeah, and I understand there were something like 7 mentor protege agreements and 7 joint ventures that were formed out of this. And you mentioned Dunn, J.E. Dunn, I believe Geoff did the parking, was responsible for the parking structure. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to ask the Rob Cassidy question that I ask in all my panel discussions. Okay. What does all this mean? What did you take away? Give me 30 seconds on a lesson or advice that you would give to other architectural engineering and construction firms, developers, people in the real estate industry. Who wants to start? Go right. Latoya, go ahead. I love that.
Thank you. Having been on this project for a full year, well, over a year now, I think it is imperative for any general contractor or architecture firm, whoever would like to implement something, any workforce training program in particular, it is very important to have these conversations at the very beginning. With their subcontractors when procurement starts. You have to relay the message of the importance of why you're doing this work, the meaning behind providing career opportunities for individuals who might not otherwise have this opportunity to enter a union trade. And they have to have the buy-in, the full buy-in from those from their subcontractors to deliver on sponsoring.
All right.
for
So,
the program.
so do it at the beginning, get the buy-in, and work it from there. Okay, who wants to go next? Kelvin, come on. Oh, Jeff raised his hand. Go ahead,
I'll
Jeff.
go next. So I would say two things. First and foremost, it's about listening, right? We had to listen to the community, understand the needs of the community, and then adapt and provide the services and the programs that were important and that the community wants. The second thing that I think is just absolutely critical and fundamental, Rob, is leadership. When we got here and we won this opportunity, my mandate from day one, all the leadership within Edgemoor, within Weitz, Clarkson, was simple. We're going to deliver a great new terminal. It's going to be on budget and on schedule. The impact that we're going to have in this community is what we do to help minority and small women-owned businesses grow their business, build capacity in the marketplace. So we set that leadership and that mandate at the beginning from the top, and that has now permeated its way down throughout every employee on my team, on the Weitz Clarkson team, down through our subcontract.
Okay.
And so it's really that dedication that's required.
All right. Daniel and Kelvin, I'm going to let you arm wrestle for who's next. Go ahead. Go ahead, Daniel.
You ready, Kelvin? I'll speak from a subcontractor perspective. The saying goes, your aim is determined by what you see. I think it's important from a subcontractor perspective that you get those around you and in front of you that represents where you are looking to go. They become the role models. So when you're struggling with the confidence within yourself, just latch on to some folks that have seen it and done it, and then follow that until you get to where you're trying to go. I think the last thing is, there's a difference between statistics and pulse. Statistics you can manipulate to say anything you want them to say, but it takes you to be intentional and understand what the real pulse is of the community. And that's what leads to a transformative reality. So as a result of our partnerships at the airport, we are now working back in the community, because the reality is there was a tsunami effect where all the viable contractors were kind of pulled north to the airport. Well, that left a situation back in our city where there's a lot of work still going on. So I think it's important to say that from a transformative standpoint, it's not only what we how we have grown at the airport, it's that equally there's been some community buy-in. So now we're able to go back to the community and continue to do work.
So you've got jobs going on in the community, Daniel?
We've got quite a few jobs in the community.
Good. Kelvin, we'll let you have the last shot here.
I tell you what, okay, after these three just spoke, okay.
Yeah.
Truly, I echo Latoya's comments, Jeff and Daniel's comments, and I think the big thing I would say to someone who wants to come in and do a program, you have to be intentional. And I think the team that you select to do this, they have to be intentional. It has to be a passion. It has to be something that that starts from the core. And I can clearly say and honestly say that this team, the Weitz Clarkson team, has definitely that thread. I think that's a common denominator amongst all of us in it. I mean, we're all intentional, and it comes from a good place in the heart. So yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
This has been a great discussion. I congratulate all of you on the work and all the whole KCI TWEP team. We've been speaking today with Kelvin Caple, who just spoke, Latoya Goree, Geoff Stricker, and Daniel Felder on the KCI Terminal Workforce Enhancement Programs on the new terminal down there. And I guess we'll all be flying into it sometime soon. So thanks a lot. Appreciate all your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you.